makes sense, you know? Okay. Got it. All right. So we are live. Hello. Good morning, everybody. This is the 8th episode of the Mental Moms podcast.
Hey.
How is everybody doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. Now I'm an announcer. So on today's podcast, what we're going to be doing is Aurelie and I have been talking about how just things have been really crazy over the last few months in general. Like things have really picked up in a really crazy, massive way. So last week we did our compatibility and synastry chart. And today I wanted to just kind of go over like I guess the astrology of the moment, just because I do want to point out a few things that have been going on. I don't know if I shared it, but over the summer, there were 6 planets that are retrograde. And when planets are retrograde, it's like rethinking, reevaluating, kind of going back to redo. And sometimes when planets are retrograde, it can be like a revisiting of whatever situation might be going. And then sometimes we don't get clarity until, that planet goes direct. So that was one of the things that we kind of wanted to discuss today. But before we kind of get into that, did you want to share any updates about school or just life in general?
I finished first semester.
Yay!
I posted my first actual set on both my pages, my DMari Beauty and my Facebook and my regular Instagram, guys. Go check it out.
Whoa, we should probably add that to our profile or below this video. I don't think we've done that. So we should do that. So that's awesome. Did you feel like it was as hard as you were like making it out to be in your head?
You know what? I thought in my head, because I'm used to doing acrylics. I used to do my own acrylics. So Gel X is literally gluing a whole nail on the finger. And I was like, that's going to be easy, blah, blah, blah. No, it was probably harder for me than acrylic.
Really? Why?
Because so with acrylic, the nail is going to stay minimum 2-3 weeks because it's like nail cement.
Yeah.
With Gel X, you have to make sure you put the nail on correctly with no air bubbles, blah, blah, blah. And if you don't, these nails will pop off in 2 days.
Oh, I see.
And so that's kind of tricky. And it was pretty hard, but I'm glad I passed.
Yes. That's amazing. Yay.
Yeah, and they came out kind of cute.
Yeah, I saw them. They are cute. How many more semesters do you have?
One more. I'll be done towards the end of November.
Dude, perfect. Amazing. That's amazing. I'm glad. Okay, so let's get to the astrology. Wait, sorry, dude. What the heck? Oh my God.
Okay.
There. Can you hear me, Aurelie?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's go over this. So this is the current astrology that we have going on. So if for you guys, you're like, what am I even looking at? This is what a natal chart looks like. So if and when you ever got your natal chart read, this is kind of what it looks like, right? So it's like a little pie, and it's broken down into houses, and then the houses are connected to the zodiac of the moment. So right now, why don't we take a look? So the ascendant is in Scorpio, and the ascendant is kind of like the energy in which, we kind of have going on today. So it's very scorpionic, which means kind of like we're digging up truths. We're kind of going in deeper in terms of even how we feel, the connection, the communication that we're having with others. There's just this intensity in regards to wanting to get to the truth, wanting to get to what's going on. And in my life, that's been very true this morning, at least. And so with that being said, the moon just crossed into Sagittarius. Sagittarius is like the philosopher. It wants to be and do in many different places. It's a fire sign. So the mood right now is very much like, I want to uncover, I want to be able to obtain as much knowledge as possible in regards to things that have depth, into things that are taboo or not spoken about. So what I really want to get at, though, is the planets that are currently retrograde. So let's take a look at this, okay? Because outer planets are usually like Pluto, retrograde, Saturn, retrograde, Neptune, retrograde, Chiron, that's an asteroid, but it's retrograde. Jupiter is currently retrograde and Uranus is retrograde. So these are all planets that have like their orbit is a little bit slower. So like Jupiter and Saturn are not necessarily like, well, they are kind of like outer planets, but they're not as far as like Uranus or Neptune or even Pluto. Those are the ones that are like generational planets. That means that people within like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years from each other will all have similar, placements in Pluto or Neptune or even Uranus. The inner planets are planets such as obviously the moon, because the moon is like the fastest moving planet because it goes around within like 24 hours, right? And then there's the sun, because it's like your personal, it goes in one zodiac within a month. Then there's Mars, there's Mercury, and there's Venus. And then also Jupiter has like a year-long transit. So, it's getting a little bit further out. It's not as fast. And then Saturn is like 2.5 years to 3 years. So that's even further. And then Pluto is like 20 years. So like people who have had Pluto in Capricorn, this transit's been happening for 15 years. Neptune, another like 15, 12-year like planet orbit. And Uranus the same. Uranus has been in Taurus for a pretty long time now. So that's what I mean by inner planets versus outer planets. Inner planets are the ones that affect us like on a weekly, monthly, bi-weekly basis, which are kind of like all of these planets here. And then the outer planets are these planets down here.
Okay.
And even like the North Node has an 18-month cycle. So people born within 18 months of each other usually have a similar North Node. So like you and I, Aurelie, have the North Node in Aries, and it's in the same sign because we're born within a few months of each other. You were born in April, I was born in August.
Okay.
So now I want to talk about the retrograde planets because earlier in the month, Venus, the planet of love, and Mercury, the planet of communication, day-to-day travel, writing, and intellect, these two were also both retrograde, and they just went direct like a few days ago, like maybe even a week ago. So that means not only were a few of our inner planets retrograde, meaning we were rethinking like our communication skills, we were rethinking, because it's in Virgo, our plans, how we go about taking care of ourselves, how we go about like just organizing and planning the way in which we communicate to others, the way in which we present to ourselves. It could even be daily commute. And then the planet of love in Venus is like, how do we love? How do we receive love? How do we, what's our relationship with money? What's our relationship with our friendships, right? So those just went direct. So maybe there was a lot of fogginess around like, how do I communicate with a certain person about what's not working for me? Like, what about my love life? Maybe I used to like this and now I like this. Like, is that confusing for me? Like, what? Which I know you've kind of been going through like certain things of that nature yourself. And then with Uranus, it's like the planet of change. It's the planet of rebellion. So right now, and in the sign of Taurus, Taurus is all about like the tangibility, land, money, beauty. We're really kind of going through a time of change in regards to like, how do we make our money? Right? Like crypto is becoming like a pretty big thing now, where before a few years ago, we're like, what's even crypto? But crypto is going to become a mode of, finances within the next few years. It already has. And then Jupiter is the planet of abundance, of philosophy. And right now it's retrograde. So when Jupiter is retrograde, we're kind of having a look at what are our philosophies? What are the things that we used to think we thought? And is that what we still think? Sometimes this can also mean like a delay in our blessings, but it's okay because when things are delayed, when we do get our blessing, it's large, right?
Right.
And so there's a delay in like the way in which we are receiving our abundance, and we're looking at the bigger philosophies in our life and what we think and what we thought were true. And then Chiron, the wounded healer, is also retrograde, but that's often retrograde. And then Neptune is the planet of, it can be of spirituality, but it can also be of illusion and delusion. It's like really difficult to pinpoint what goes around Neptune. And so whatever Neptune, the house, whatever Neptune, whatever house Neptune is currently in, you have a foggy sense of what that is. And it's when it's in retrograde, we have an even bigger sense of like, what do I even want? Right. So right now it's in Pisces, and Pisces is the sign of, it's the sign of spirituality. It's the sign of, psychic ability. It's also the zodiac of sometimes being so emotionally connected that we kind of get we want to escape. So it's like escapism. So maybe, it's funny because after the pandemic, a lot of people have addiction issues, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Because
lot of
they had
like,
the time.
what was that?
I said because they had the time.
They had the time, but also they allowed themselves that delusion of like, this is my reality. Where it's like, well, when it's in retrograde, it's like, well, is it though? Because you still have to function in the 3D world.
Right.
And so that can mean that as well, And then Saturn retrograde often, and it's in Pisces, it has to do with like challenges and obstacles, and really thinking about like, how am I surviving this current dilemma? What do I have to do? How do I not fix it, but like, what are the challenges that are not going away that I need to learn how to overcome? Right? Saturn retrograde can sometimes mean like there's a shortage, like there's a physical shortage of something, depending on the sign in the house that it falls in. So, if you have, for example, right now, this is Saturn in the fourth house in Pisces. Maybe for some people with Pisces in the fourth house and Saturn retrograde there, being like, they might have like a housing crisis. They might not know where I'm going to live, or maybe I have to move, or maybe my parents are splitting up and there's a restructuring of my family dynamic or situation, right?
Oh, wow.
Like that. So Saturn, and it depends on like even your chart, right? Like wherever Saturn is, it's like showing you challenge and how to kind of overcome that. And then Pluto retrograde. Pluto is retrograde often, but it's a generational planet. And when Pluto is retrograde in the planet of Capricorn, we are going to uncover a lot of corruption in people in power, which we've already started seeing. As Pluto has been moving out of Capricorn and into Pluto, we're seeing a lot of like, holy shit, these places, people, things, corporations in power, they're starting to crumble. People are starting to see the corruption really loudly. And so when Pluto is retrograde, it's like we want to take control of that situation. So over the last few weeks, especially with Mercury and Venus going direct, everybody has been feeling like a complete shift in like, what I once wasn't clear on, I'm now clear on. What I once wasn't speaking, I am now going to start speaking. What I wasn't sure in regards to my values and my love and my money, now I know what's up. Now I know what I want. So with all of those retrogrades, we could have felt like very like tired and just like just foggy and unsure about what's going on. But now we're in the mode of like, no, you need to get clear on what you want. So when all of these other planets go direct, you can start moving and you can start building. Right now, it's just reevaluation. Also, the sun up here has kind of been opposing Neptune. You see that red line?
Mm-hmm.
When the sun opposes Neptune, it can be very spiritual, but it can also be a very tiring and confusing time where, you're like, man, I feel really sluggish. I don't really know what to think. Because remember, Neptune is a planet of illusion and spirituality. And when it opposes your ego, you're kind of like, I don't know where to move to. I don't know where to go. So,
Mm.
and then let's see too, like Uranus is making a square to Venus right now. So our finances, our love, our relationships with other people could have like a crazy, like, dramatic change within the next couple of either today or tomorrow. There
Oh,
could be,
wow.
or there could be like a massive change. And then Saturn is squaring Uranus. So when Saturn squares Uranus, it's like it can be really drastic change that comes from up above. So Saturn is also like, the patriarchy or things that are above our control. And when it's squaring Uranus, it can be like, fated events that need to happen in order for us to change the trajectory of how we're moving and how we're doing things. Saturn is also squaring the moon, which is like a restrictive kind of energy in regards to sharing our emotions, being able to feel our emotions, or something coming down upon us where we feel like, shit, I have to figure this thing out. And it's an emotional time. Um,
Mm.
Saturn is also opposing Mercury, which is the planet of intellect, day-to-day movement, communication. So we might feel blocked in the way that we're communicating with others or even able to express ourselves. And then the moon is opposing Uranus, so our emotions can be fucking all over the place. So
Oh, yeah.
that's the current astrology. Do you feel like in your life you are undergoing any of these current changes
A
or
lot,
feelings?
actually. Yes. So right now I'm trying to figure out my finances, whether to take a new job or give my current job another chance to kind of make me more money. I'm literally don't even know what to do. Um, so that I have that. I have been feeling a little like sluggish, like,
Yeah.
and I'm always like, what's going on? Because I do sleep
But then you
more
still
than
feel tired. Yeah.
yes, I still feel tired.
Yeah.
My emotions are everywhere. Um, yes, communication, trying to communicate my feelings, trying to properly, I should say, communicate my feelings, just figuring a lot of stuff out. That's why I sent you that one
Me.
Instagram. When is Venus gonna get out of the Gatorade?
It's out of the Gatorade, but it's squaring Uranus right now.
Yeah. So I've definitely this is yep.
And this is what this means. So Uranus is in Taurus, right? And Taurus is all about the tangibility, like like what do I have materially, right? Taurus is all about beauty. It's about land. It's about like money, the material, what we're doing. And Venus in Leo is all about showing love big time, like being able to like fully, truly express yourself, being able to show off, or also being able to be like, no, like I deserve this. Like I know that I'm deserving of these things. So it's maybe like even with your money, right? Like I know I deserve more money, whatever. But the reality right now in Taurus is, but there's a shakeup around that money. There's an instability around those, financial wants versus needs,
Yep.
and even like love related, right?
Hmm.
Like in relationships, it's like, I want and need this in love, but also like maybe the situation right now is not allowing us to fully express it or be out and about it, or have a concrete plan.
Right. Absolutely. So it's kind of all a little scattered,
Yeah.
you could say.
Yeah. Right now, there's a major feeling of just being scattered.
And so what can we expect from that? Should we just try to write it out? Is there any like
Look, I think with this, whenever there's like a lot of tension, I think you have to just let it be what it is and say, maybe right now is not the best time to make a decision. Maybe I'm still evaluating, right? So
right,
maybe I'm still evaluating my money. Maybe I'm still evaluating my love. I'm still evaluating where my emotions are. So when there's so much tension, it's about getting really quiet with yourself and being like, why don't I do a pros and cons list? Do I have to do it right now? Is this opportunity going to be gone right now? And if it is, then I have to really get dot my I's and cross my T's. Like, is it a for sure that I'm going to make more money? What is it that I need to do in this area? What are the hours? Like, do things outweigh one another? Am I jumping the gun? Am I being a little bit too impulsive right now because I just
right.
want something else now? But also, like, am I really evaluating the situation for what it is, or am I being um, antsy? And I think the mode is just like antsiness in general. So it's more about like, how do I get quiet and how do I really write down, like, or even journal, like, what are the pros and cons for me?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep. Just kind of what I've been doing, kind of journaling,
yeah,
kind of sorting things out. But yeah, that's totally what it is, you know. And listen, I'm an Aries. I'm really quick to jump the gun.
yeah,
So, because, and it's funny because last week on Friday, I got offered this job and I was like, yes, let's do it. You know, fuck this
yeah,
other job. But then to yesterday, I was like, okay, well, what if I just talk to my boss and maybe I'm overreacting and I'm very quick to go. And then today I'm in the middle of all that.
yeah. Kind of trying to decide. And so kind of
Mm-hmm.
deciding like what's worth it for me? Like, what am I going to talk to my boss about too? How am I going to say it in a way where, it's professional, but it's clear, it's direct, but also not giving the impression like, well, I'm out of here. Cause then he's like, okay, well, then I guess you're fired. I don't know.
Bye.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so I think sometimes when we're really gung ho about something, like impulsively in the moment, we have to sit down and be like, okay, how does this work in my life? How could this play out right now?
Right.
Right. And then it's like, financially, is it a for sure that it's going to be more money? But then also, am I okay right now stopping one job to start another? Because then you usually don't get paid right away with the other job.
Right.
Right.
Like, how is that going to work with, bills and
Yeah. All that stuff. Yeah. So attempting to be practical with potential like new career endeavors, because I think that's really great, but also just being practical in your life about how it would work.
right.
Yeah. Do you have
Hmm.
any other questions about like the astrology or like what's going on?
No, it all kind of seems to be making sense. I was like, okay, so this is why we've been feeling crazy.
Yeah.
This is why, even in like you said, relationships, my feelings have been all over the place. And
Yeah.
it's like sometimes I'm like, I'm out. And then sometimes I'm like, no, 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 just relax. I've been really impulsive with my thoughts lately. And I've
Mm,
been really kind of like trying to just sit down and relax. But I've been on edge, if for lack of better words.
yeah. You're feeling pretty edgy right now.
Hmm.
And so I think with that too, it's like when you are on edge and you are feeling kind of impulsive emotionally, it's like it's funny because like the moon is squaring Mercury as well, so our feelings are not necessarily matching our thoughts like in a harmonious way, which is
Right.
kind of like what you're sharing right now. Um, when we're feeling that way, it's best to sit down and journal and be like, what is it that's making me feel so uneasy? Is it the relationship itself or is it me? What am I not giving myself in terms of time or healing where I kind of feel shaky? What am I not
Mhm.
receiving? What am I not giving myself? Because we can't necessarily, well, we can't control anything like how other people respond to us, but we can control how we sit and kind of reflect on what it is that we want. And again, like Mercury is, I mean, the moon is opposed to Uranus, which is like just eccentric mood swings and being hot and cold and wanting to be there and then not wanting to be there. And so like that's a personal problem. But everybody's having that
You need to
personal
figure your shit
problem.
out.
Yeah, figure it out, girl. But but everybody's feeling this kind of energy. It's not just you. But then when everyone's feeling this energy, then we can't blame others. It's like, well, you
Yeah.
can if they're an asshole to you, but it's like, I'm feeling this way. I can't make it about this, that, or the other. It's more like, maybe I just need to write this out.
It's more internal rather than
Yeah, right.
it's
Then,
coming out from the inside instead of something triggering it.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Because even at school, my teacher, so she goes and grabs herself a snack right before class starts. And I swear this Saturday, she was like, okay, it's final time, right? And so we're like, hi, we're all happy to see her. Hello. And she's like, she looks upset. And so, this girl was like, what's wrong? Are you okay? She was like, never tell anyone that they gained a little bit of weight. And we're like, what? Apparently, the lady she buys snacks from told her you look beautiful, you look fuller. And so she said, I feel fat.
Rule of thumb is that lady like Latin?
Yes. Then that's what it is. But then she did tell us maybe it's a me issue because
Right. You are
I,
feeling chubbier.
yes. So
And
this
maybe
lady
she was
probably,
just saying you look voluptuous.
yes. And so that's what I told her. But she says, but you know what? It's me too, though, because supposedly I've been trying to lose weight. So I bought myself smaller clothes and they don't fit. So that's my problem. And I was like, oh, and she goes, so now I'm taking it on this lady who called me beautiful because I look fuller. And I'm like, I don't want to be this full. And so, it's hitting everyone because this is something she was already internally dealing with.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the lady's fault because she didn't even say, you look fat. She just said, you look beautiful. You look full.
Yeah. That to me is like you look voluptuous, you look healthy,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, what? So,
That's really funny. Yeah, and I only ask if she's Latino because sometimes Latin people they talk about how you look. Like it's not like they haven't caught on that it's taboo to discuss
yes. And
your appearance.
they'll give you nicknames based on your worst
Your body
insecurities.
type.
Yes. Hence, negrita.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Remember, uh, what was her name in cross country? I forget her name, but she would tell me like to avoid the sun, to avoid getting darker. And she didn't want to hang out at the beach because she was like, we're already dark. You want to get darker? So then she made me very insecure about my skin color.
oh, I know who it is. Maybe we shouldn't say her name.
Okay.
Your friend.
But yes.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know why I brought that up, but well, you know what I mean. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because of my nickname, Negrita.
Well, I think too, like sometimes obviously she was really insecure because I think she was the darkest person in her family, right? So
I think so.
probably always commented on the fact that she was dark and her brother was a jerk and always made fun of her.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes we get tough skin too, because
Well, you have to, but then you have this lingering insecurity of
Yes.
your of something you cannot change. That is just how you were made,
Right.
and you're beautiful. And it doesn't matter that you're light or dark
Fuller.
or fuller. Exactly.
But so I can see it now that you explained everything. I can kind of see it within myself and in my surroundings. Everybody's just out of control, I think, emotionally.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? One of the things that I'm really interested in is numerology. I've never really gotten into it. I don't know. I've never taken a class or anything, but I feel like numerology would be really cool. Like maybe I can like do a little bit of research and I can bring it here and just kind of talk about the significance of numbers. I ran into this person, I don't even know their name, on YouTube, and they were talking about numerology. And I thought that is so interesting because most people have like a life path, right? And if you're born on this day, you have these kind of qualities and this, that, and the other. And so maybe that's something I can like try to research on like on my own, and I can bring it to the podcast just to
Yeah.
start exploring it.
I actually got into that a little bit, especially when I was pregnant. And, my daughter has a lot of twos in her birthday. So
Oh,
she's 12/02/2020. And the number two is, I think it's either a sign of prosperity or something, but the number two is really good. And then, but you know who was into numerology? Left Eye, Lisa Left Eye from TLC. And if
oh,
you watch her documentary, she kind of breaks it down. And so she goes like, today's the second, and then tomorrow, I blah blah blah. And she sums them up, and whatever that number comes out, it's really cool. I kind of started getting into it a little bit, but it's also a lot.
yeah, it's like a lot of numbers, and so you're like,
Mhm.
wait, what? Like I saw this guy on YouTube, and he was saying like, if it's like this day, that day, or this day, like people are going to be more aggressive, or because that's like a male number, or like a more um masculine energy. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So maybe that's something I can do on my end, and I can bring it here to the next week's podcast. How does that sound?
I think that's really cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have anything else to share,
No, just that. It makes all sense, dude.
all
This is
right.
insane. Let's write it
Well,
out, guys.
yeah, we can do this. We've done it the
Hang in
last,
there.
few months. So we will see you all next week. And at that time, I'll bring like some numerology stuff into the mix.
Okay, cool. That sounds good.
All right, everybody, have a great
Thank
day.
you, everyone.